Hey, guys and girls. So, when Mrs. Barron reached out to us and asked if we could help with some book talk she's been doing, I really welcome the opportunity to talk to you guys about something that I've read recently. So, for those of you that don't know me, because I know she teaches some younger grades, I'm Mr. Vecenie. I teach chemistry up in the 10th and the 11th grade, and I'm the track coach here at the building. So a lot of you may think that somebody like me isn't a particularly avid reader, and I would say I really enjoy to read and or listen to books on tape. So a book I wanted to talk to you guys about that I have read recently is the one you see here. It's called 11/22/63, and it's written by Stephen King. So the significance of that date, 11/22/1963, is that that's the day President John F. Kennedy was assassinated by Lee Harvey Oswald. I really enjoyed this book because it blends a couple of the different types of things I like to read about all into one book. One thing I particularly enjoy is historical fiction, when they take normal historical events and then write a fiction story around them, which this book absolutely does. I also particularly enjoy the sci-fi touch to it, which you'll kind of get a feel for as I talk to you about the book. All right, so the premise behind the book is that it starts when a diner shop owner reaches out to a local high school English teacher. And the diner shop owner is friendly with the teacher, and the teacher notices he seems to be getting older and older far more quickly than you would expect him to. And as it turns out, in the back of his diner in the pantry, the owner of the shop has discovered a wormhole, which in science land should be able to transport you through time and space. So the diner shop owner has been going back in time, and through his travels, he has decided that he can make the world a much better place by changing one key event that has happened during his lifetime. And that key event is the one that you see right here. All right, that Lee Harvey Oswald assassinated President John F. Kennedy, who was very inspirational to a lot of people, on November 22nd, 1963. So that became the diner shop's mission in life. Well, what happens is the diner shop owner discovers he has cancer, and he knows he can no longer sustain this mission. So what he does is he discloses this wormhole to the high school teacher. And the high school teacher is skeptical at first, but there were some pieces not making sense. Seemingly, how the old man was getting substantially older every time that he saw him. And the old man explains to him the rules of the wormhole. And some of the quick and short rules that will help you understand what you're reading is that when you go through the wormhole, you are always transported to that exact location, this diner, but it takes them back always to the same date in 1958, right, which is 5 years before the Kennedy assassination. So each time the man went back and was trying to progress his way to helping stop this, he was leaving for years in that wormhole. But when you return, you have always only elapsed 2 minutes in world time when you come back. So he may go back and stay for 3 months, and when he comes back, it's 2 minutes later in that earth. But in his time, he had aged 3 years. So he knows when he's diagnosed with cancer, he can no longer sustain the 5 years needed to possibly save President Kennedy. So he tasks his friend with doing this. And the friend decides that he may explore this endeavor. So the first thing he wanted to do was understand how it works. So he makes mini trips back in time, and he is found remarkable that it is actually true. He is transported, and when he comes back, only 2 minutes have gone. But then he starts to digest the magnitude of the task at hand, stopping the assassination of a president. and he decides that he wants to change something smaller first to see how feasible of a task this is. And the task he sets for himself is to help a custodian who worked at the school with him. That custodian had something tragic happen to him younger in life, and the teacher thought, if I can go back and stop this event, yes, maybe I can figure out a way to stop John F. Kennedy's assassination. So he goes back, and while he's back in 1958, and the time that elapses in there, he has found that history does not like to be rewritten. So there's a lot of obstacles that get put in his way, like things that fight you, things that should be easy, like finding a house, but then it's not listed. Things like I should be able to cross the street, but then cars will come and somehow maybe try to hurt him and stop him from altering the past. And the closer he gets to altering the past, the more and more difficult it tends to become. So his first mission was to try to help this custodian, and he goes through and decides, after seeing what had happened, that he thinks perhaps he can go on to stop the assassination of JFK. And I find this particularly interesting because after he helps the custodian, he travels back to his regular time. And when he does that, all right, he creates what they call a butterfly effect, right? That by changing something in the past, it has butterfly effects, or they call it the ripple effect in science, of the future. So there's a lot of back and forth of, oh, you did this in the past, but now look what happened in the future. So sometimes you think you've solved the problem, but not necessarily. All right, so what he does then is he overcomes this first task, and then he goes back and sets out on the mission to help stop the assassination of JFK. And he spends a substantial amount of time in that 1958 to 1963 paradox that he's living. So I really like it because it reminds me of a show I watch on the CW. If any of you guys are Flash fans, that's one of the things that the Flash does. He runs so fast, he can go back in time, but he finds out sometimes that is not very good to do, because when he does it, he changes the future. He alters the future. And sometimes he doesn't alter it for the better. And it has a lot of comparables if you like that type of storyline. So I really enjoyed the book. I would say it wasn't the best book I have ever read. I'd say I'd probably give it 4.5 stars out of 5. But it was a really good read. You do see touches of the Stephen King, the darkness, right? He's a big horror writer, but for the most part, it stays, pretty true to the sci-fi historic nature of it. And you get a little gruesomeness in there once or twice throughout the book, but not so much that it turns you off. And if you like that type of thing, it's an extra little hook there for you. So I enjoyed reading it. Again, it was called 11/22/63, and it's written by Stephen King. And if you get a chance, I hope you guys get some time to sit down and listen to it or read it.